And I want to begin to share a couple of just nuggets for you. And then we're going to start writing about what God's really telling us for this point in time. Okay? So in Matthew chapter 26, starting at verse 36, I want to read to you. Just follow me online. Then Jesus came with them to a place called Gethsemane and said to the disciples, "Sit here while I go and pray over there." And he took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, and he began to be sorrowful and deeply distressed. Now remember, he had just instituted the Lord's table. And so he began to talk about that. He knew what was coming next, but he wanted those to be watchful around him. So he took his inner circle with him, which were Peter, James, and John. So he begins to say this in verse 38. Then he said to them, "My soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even to death. Stay here and watch with me." He went a little farther and fell on his face and prayed, saying, "O my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." Then he came to the disciples and found them sleeping, and said to Peter, "What? Could you not watch with me for 1 hour? Watch and pray, lest you enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." And again the second time, he went away and prayed, saying, "O my Father, if this cup cannot pass away from me unless I drink it, your will be done." And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. So he left them, went away again, and prayed the third time, saying the same words. Then he said to his disciples, came to his disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is being betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand." Now this story, all of you, raise your hand, you've heard this at least once before in your life, amen? And so you've understood this, and normally we preach or teach this during the time of the Easter resurrection time, the season. But I would tell you that it should be done at all other times of the year. And so you must understand that this was a trying time. And as I begin to share this with you, I first want to give you an illustration. So remember what we heard, and Richie, if I could borrow you just for a moment. If you can come up here, please. And so I want to give you an illustration first. Remember the scripture we just said. Come on, stand next to me if you will. And so, I like those shoes, man. Where's my size? Is that my size? No? You don't want to give it to me? So, anyway, so what happens is this. The war in the heavenlies does exist, and it's real. And so the way that it works, and the way that the little kingdom, or the kingdom of darkness works, is they know that if you hear the truth will make you free. Right. So the whole design is for you not to hear the truth. And so, if you will, so what happens is this. So we put this on him for a reason. And so the way the kingdom of darkness works, anyone ever heard of virtual reality? Yeah? And anybody have those goggles at home? No? But you do? Yeah? And so what you do, just stay there for a minute. What you do is you see people looking because now they're mentally in a different existence. And they see things, but they can't see what physically they're doing. And you hear about people getting hurt because they're so into this world that's made up, they don't see the real world. That's how the kingdom of darkness works. And the whole design is this, to give you an image. I didn't have VR glasses to bring. If I knew you did, I would have called you. And put them over. So all they see is what is being fed to them. And the kingdom of darkness says what? Well, pornography's great. Lying to people's great. Yelling at your parents is great. Stealing is great. All these things, and they just see the goodness because that's what's played for them. And all the things that would come in about truth, the design is to close it. So when you have those noise cancellation headphones, you don't hear anything else outside, right? And I see people at times driving a car with these things on, so they can't hear their surroundings, right? Which is crazy. But when you do that, you're taking away the God-given senses to hear the truth of what God's doing. So the kingdom of darkness design is to make sure that in the only way they see strategy-wise to win the war is to monitor what you see and monitor what you hear. Because what that does, it changes what's in here. So then your heart is hard to make you free because you don't know any different. Not you, but people don't know any different. And so because of that, the whole kingdom of light already understands. And our purpose is to make sure that we knock off, don't move your head, knock off the goggles and the goggles and the headphones so that it can be heard, the truth can be heard. And those that some might be saved are saved because they begin to hear the truth. And it's like, I never heard that before. Is that really true? Can somebody explain this to me? Oh, well, how does this work? This is really starting to, I feel different inside. What's going on? And what's the explanation? And that's how it works. And so what you hear, what you see, has an impact on what you have in your heart, which also is resonated and revealed by what is said. Because what you say comes out of your heart. And so the battle and the warfare really is over this. And the way that this is won is to make sure, I borrowed these so I don't want to break them, is to make sure that they can't